We are working on the ELA Quarter 2 Common Assessment. Question number 1 has you reading the directions for the reading passages and for the open-ended questions. If you have read the directions entirely and reviewed the writer's checklist and are ready to continue, go ahead and click yes, and then move on to question number 2. Question number 2 has you reading this text. It is called the Pony Express. It says, for approximately 18 months, the Pony Express was a vital part of communication between the East and the West. Young men who carried the mailbags by horseback rode all day and night to ensure the speedy delivery of the mail. In the 1800s, the Pony Express riders helped deliver mail much faster than ever before. In March of 1860, the founders of the Pony Express posted the first advertisement seeking experienced riders. The advertisement gave a short description of the job requirements. It also mentioned the level of danger involved. Many eager, qualified men responded to the request for help. 1 month later, the Pony Express made its first mail delivery. The Pony Express route was a long trail that reached from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California. Along the path were several stations where men could change horses and receive meals. After resting for a short period of time, riders would continue on their way. For months, men and their horses followed a relay system as part of their job. Each rider would travel approximately 60 miles or more before passing his mailbag to the next rider. The awaiting rider would then continue the journey until reaching the next man. A rider would travel to several stations before being relieved of his duties. Horses, however, were changed every 10 miles. Due to this requirement, a rider would use several different horses during one trip. The Pony Express came to an end in October of 1861 when the telegraph introduced a faster means of communication. Therefore, the services of the Pony Express riders were no longer needed. Although the Pony Express was utilized for only a short period of time, it will forever hold a place in history as one of the first methods of prompt mail delivery. So question number 2 is, which statement provides an objective summary of how the Pony Express mail delivery system worked? A. The Pony Express was an important means of communication between the East and the West. B. The Pony Express was a quick method of mail delivery because the riders and horses were treated well. C. The Pony Express was a mail delivery system that seemed to work well until the telegraph was introduced. D. The Pony Express was a system that involved young men carrying mailbags on the horseback across the country. When you're ready, move on to question 3. Question 3. Which words from the passage are most alike in meaning? A. Express, carried. B. Speedy, prompt. C. Receive, pass. D. Advertisements, requirements. When you're ready, move on to question number 4. What is the meaning of the word vital as used in the Pony Express? A. Minor. B. Essential. C. Full of energy. Or D. Unnecessary. Question 5. Read the following excerpt from the passage. The Pony Express came to an end in October of 1861 when the telegraph introduced a faster means of communication. What does the prefix tele mean in the word telegraph? A. Drawn, written. B. To view, to watch. C. At a distance, distant. D. Swift, rapid. Question 6 goes with a new passage, so I'm going to go ahead and read Pony Express Rider. Henry was dressed warmly for his ride, but not even his layers of clothing or heavy coat could keep him from shivering in his saddle in the coldness of the night. As he rode, the wind was shrieking and clawing at him like an angry bird of prey. Without thinking, Henry reached forward and protectively patted the leather mailbag draped securely over his saddle. At that moment, the sting of ice on his face and the numbness in his fingertips didn't matter. All that mattered was delivering the contents of that mailbag safely and on time. He could still scarcely believe he was a Pony Express rider. Riding a horse to deliver the mail was a daring yet rewarding job. He smiled as he remembered the newspaper advertisement he had seen in March of 1860. Wanted, young, adventurous fellows, not over 18, must be expert riders, willing to risk rough trails and bad weather conditions. The advertisement sounded exciting to Henry at the time, and he desperately wanted some adventure in his life. He was drawn to the challenge of showing that he was capable of taking on a profession that few men would dare to do. Now, many months later, Henry carried a locked mailbag along the route at top speed on horseback. He was part of a chain of riders who handed off the mail one rider to the next rider for 2,000 miles until the mail reached California. In his way, the mail traveled across the country in only 10 days, which was a new record for speedy mail delivery. By now, Henry knew his route so well he could ride it in the dark, which he often did. The hardest parts of his ride were the hills that contained rocky trails made slippery from rain and snow. Obviously, Henry preferred flat land where his horse could gallop, but he did not encounter smooth terrain very often. Although Henry was still considered a novice Pony Express rider, he was already comfortable with his routine. After reaching a Pony Express station, Henry would leave his tired horse there to enjoy a healthy portion of oats and hay in a dry stall. He would stop just long enough to switch the mailbag to a new horse before jumping back in the saddle to race another 10 miles to the next station. It would take all night to complete his 80-mile route. Then he could give the mailbag to a new rider, lie down on a cot, and get some sleep. It was a challenging job, no doubt about it, but Henry loved the feeling of thundering down the trail on dark, silent nights. At times it seemed as though no one else existed except him and his horse. He gladly welcomed this feeling of isolation, but even more he loved knowing that he was carrying something precious that had the power to affect people's lives. What was in his mailbag right now? Friendly letters, family news, important government business? This excitement lasted throughout each route, propelling him to continue his mission, especially on difficult journeys such as the one this evening. These ideas kept Henry deep in thought as the falling snow became heavier, leaving a thick white blanket on the trail before him. The flakes were so large that Henry could barely see the winding trail directing him to his destination. His horse, tired from the long, demanding ride, slowed her pace, her sides heaving from exhaustion. The next hour was miserable as Henry and his horse plodded slowly along the trail. His face was stinging from the wind and his eyes were watery and strained from trying to see through the whirling snow. The weather conditions were so intense that Henry briefly contemplated finding shelter, but he dared not leave the trail. If the snowstorm turned into a blizzard, he could not risk vanishing in a sea of white. No Pony Express rider had ever lost a mailbag, and he did not intend to be the first one. The trail turned upward, winding into another challenge for Henry and his companion. The horse struggled with every step on the slippery, ice-caked trail. Wanting to lessen her burden, Henry slid from the saddle onto the cold ground and took her reins. "Come on, girl," he encouragingly told her. "Soon we'll be at the station where you can have a good dinner of hay and oats." For what seemed like ages, Henry carefully led the way over sharp, slippery rocks scattered throughout the course before them. Finally, they reached the other side of a hill and Henry could ride again. Soon he heard rushing water and knew they were close to the next station. The Coldwater River was so wide that it was only partly frozen. Henry started to guide his horse to the bridge. Suddenly, she slipped on an icy patch of river bank. Henry fought to get the frightened animal under control. When they reached the station, one of the men who cared for the horses came hurrying up. "Took you long enough," teased Henry. Then, turning serious, he added, "You better warm up before you head out there again." Henry shook his head. "This mail won't be late because of me." In no time he had the mailbag slung across his shoulder and was on a fresh horse, ready to continue his assignment. A feeling of excitement coursed through him as he once again headed out into the night. Read this sentence from the narrative. This is question 6. Now, many months later, Henry carried a locked mailbag along the route at top speed on horseback. What inference can the reader make after reading this sentence? A. Horses for the Pony Express were carefully selected each month. B. The Pony Express wanted to ensure the security of its mail. C. Mailbags were difficult to carry when traveling quickly. D. Riders were often employed for long periods of time. Question 7. Read this excerpt from the narrative. The horse struggled with every step on the slippery, ice-caked trail. Wanting to lessen her burden, Henry slid from the saddle onto the cold ground and took her reins. "Come on, girl," he encouragingly told her. Which inference can the reader make after reading this excerpt? A. They finally reached their destination. B. Henry's main concern is to get the mail delivered on time no matter what. C. Henry is confident in the horse's ability to continue carrying him in this weather conditions. D. Henry not only cares about getting the mail delivered on time, but also about the well-being of the horse. Question 8. Which detail helps make the events of the narrative seem realistic? A. The main character takes on a dangerous job with the Pony Express. B. The setting takes place during the winter along an unnamed trail. C. The main character is more concerned about his job than his own safety. D. The setting takes place during the time when the Pony Express was in operation. Question 9. What does the conflict in the narrative reveal most about Henry? A, the excitement he experiences during dangerous situations. B, the appreciation he has for station employees. C, the dedication he has to his work. D, the fondness he feels for horses. Question 10. Which point of view is used in the Pony Express rider? A, first person from the view of Henry. B, second person from the view of Henry. C, third person from the view of Henry. D, third person from the view of someone outside of the story. Question 11. What is an appropriate purpose for reading Pony Express Rider? To enjoy a story about a man who rides for the Pony Express. B, to understand how Henry delivered the mail. C, to learn why horses were important to the Pony Express. Or D, to learn the different routes taken by Pony Express riders. Question 12. Read the lines from the passage. As he rode, the wind was shrieking and clawing at him like an angry bird of prey. What form of figurative language is the author using in this sentence? A, hyperbole. B, idiom. C, metaphor. D, simile. Question 13. Read the lines from the passage. As he rode, the wind was shrieking and clawing at him like an angry bird of prey. Why is the author's use of figurative language in this part of the passage so effective? A, it helps the reader understand why the job of a Pony Express rider was so rewarding. B, it gives the reader more insight into the relationship between the main character and his horse. C, it helps the reader to connect with the experiences of the character by using sensory language. D, it gives us an example of a type of predator Pony Express riders may have encountered on their journeys. Question 14. Read the following excerpt from the passage. At times it seemed as though no one else existed except him and his horse. He gladly welcomed this feeling of isolation, but even more he loved knowing that he was carrying something precious and had the power to affect people's lives. What does the word isolation most likely mean in this excerpt? A, power. B, friendship. C, separation. D, self-control. So what does the word isolation mean? Question 15. Consider the definition of theme. What is a possible theme of the passage Pony Express Rider, and how was it developed over the course of the text? Use evidence from the passage to support your response. Write your response here. So what is the theme? Use evidence from the passage to support your response. Question 16. How does the setting of the narrative help to expand on information from the article? A, it explains that the Pony Express was once highly regarded. B, it clarifies why the Pony Express wanted to use young riders. C, it elaborates on reasons for the eventual failure of the Pony Express. D, it confirms the obstacles associated with being a Pony Express rider. Question 17. How is Henry similar to the Pony Express riders described in the article? A, he enjoys spending time alone while riding on the trail. B, he wonders about the contents of the mailbag he must carry. C, he's willing to travel under harsh conditions in order to complete his job. D, he sees his assignment as an opportunity to add a sense of adventure to his life. Question 18. Choose a letter of the statement that best reflects your work on this test. A, I answered all questions by myself with no outside help at all. B, my learning coach helped by reading aloud but did not provide answers. C, I got help with answers from a study guide, website, learning coach, or other sources. And then you can go ahead and review and finish the test. That's the last question. Okay? And then you'll click finish when you're done.